You see, they talk about other people speaking in unison with a particular line or a particular narrative to bring forward. And then they do the exact same thing. The other night, Baron spoke about the flooding of the market in terms of different elements of a story to crash the main idea or the one that they're trying to steer towards. And then Christine Fecti does her show, and she starts talking about the frog boiling in the pot and how about stories and narratives and that, and it's almost like she's repeating the same thing. Well, she is, because she mentions Baron and she talks about the flooding of the market idea, and then she starts to present the same idea. You can't sit there, you see, I even like watching her, but I can't help seeing what I see. And I'm not going to deny that I see it for the sake of society and peace, because it never works, especially with the personal soul. If you can't be true to what you see, then you might as well just let go. You might as well just be who someone else wants you to be, because you're certainly not being yourself. So I see it, and I see them, again, maybe consciously, unconsciously, I don't know, but they collectively, a group of these people collectively start pushing the same story. And that being the flooding of the market to, in a way, it's kind of a get out of jail free card for a concept that you may have presented that's not necessarily coming through or not being picked up on. Are you just trying to say, well, the reason that's happening is because all other ideas are there disrupting it? Maybe it's just that people ain't believing that one element of that idea. And I think if you're going to start calling the so-called other side out for their uniform behaviour, then you have to watch that you don't do it yourself. Otherwise you're a glass house and I have a stone. And that's what's happening here. I think at some point all the stories about what happened to Charlie have to stop. And I don't mean in terms of an investigation. Of course you have to look down all avenues. You have to look at an idea really closely before you can eliminate it. And even in the elimination, it doesn't mean that the idea wasn't true in the first place and that that event didn't happen. It just means you can't really in all reality prove that it happened. And we can never prove anything anyway, really. Even if we're standing in front of someone when a crime's committed, we can't prove intent because that's an internal thing, you know. We can only prove the intent of a physical act, not the emotional state behind it, where true intent really begins. So I think that all the different ideas now, it's getting a little bit out of control, and I think that's what they're referring to in terms of flooding the market, all the different things that possibly could have happened to him. But you can't present other ideas and then restrict people who also have other ideas and call that flooding the market, because what you're actually just trying to do is isolate people to your one way of thinking. And I think with this type of thing, I can see why certain people say cult-like behaviour, because it becomes a case of believe it at the cost of everything else, regardless of what comes up. We get a kind of blindness when we've emotionally attached to an idea, and even though we might be saying, oh, we haven't emotionally attached to this or this, you have, because you haven't moved from it, so you are stuck in that place. I don't think we would ever find out who actually did what happened to Charlie, and I honestly don't think even if you did, there would be any true justice. Even, you see, the issue I have with the microphone situation is, you might say, oh, well, they wanted it done in front of a lot of people. There's a lot easier ways that could have been done, even in front of other people, you know. There's a lot of ways. You might say, well, they needed it to be the leftist idea to cause political chaos. They caused political chaos in loads of ways. It wasn't just that. And if it was a political thing in terms of his organisation or a financial thing, you know, yeah, whatever, well, I understand, but there's a million reasons why he could have been taken out, but it doesn't mean he was taken out for any single one of them or all of them, you know. And this thing that we do with people when they die, where we become blind to who they were when they were alive, or we accredit them with intelligence, and then when it comes to one area we say, well, they didn't know. Like, for instance, you can't tell me that Charlie didn't know what was going on with Turning Point in the USA and their finances. You might say, well, he called for an audit. Well, how do you know he just didn't call the audit because he was losing out on money? You know, not because that the organisation was, because he was. He was like, well, where's it going? Because I haven't got it, you know. So it could have been a personal thing too, because you can't tell me he didn't know who Erica was. He didn't know what was happening in Turning Point. He didn't know about the finances, yet he was one of the smartest people in the world, but just stupid when it come to all of that. So what, he was an ego? What, he was just flattered into place? And everybody else did the work. He was just a front cover. Even if he was a front cover, he still must have known something about what's going on. So people need to stop making Charlie a martyr in debt, because I'm not saying he was a horrible human being. I never knew the man. But what I am saying is you can't have all that in your life and have no clue whatsoever. And if you have no clue whatsoever, then there's some serious manipulation going on around you. And I don't believe that can truly be the case when you claim someone. It's like what they do with Trump. Oh, he's smart enough to do this, he's smart enough to do that, super this, super that. But when it comes to things they don't like, then all of a sudden he's been manipulated by people in the cabinet. It's just ridiculous how we as people use these different excuses to allow people to behave the way they behave. And I think that it's getting a bit silly now with the Tyler Robinson case. It's getting a bit silly, all of these different suggestions and ideas. And while I've said before, I think a lot of what's going on is they're allowing Candace, probably without her knowledge, they're allowing Candace to be part of something that brings down free speech by letting her and other people put out the most outrageous ideas about what could have happened, to shots from the back of the head, microphones exploding, shot in the heart, shot through the neck. It's just this gun, that gun, not a gun, electric shock, t-shirts melting. Is a Philadelphia. I'm going to say it like that. Philadelphia and Iran and all of these different things so-called responsible for it. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it was Tyler, maybe it was Lance, who knows? I don't think you'll ever really know. But the fact of the matter is I don't think that, while I understand that an investigation is necessary, I don't think it is helpful any longer, the amount of different suggestions that have been put forward, because it's almost muddying the market in respect of what truly is evidence and what isn't. So it seems that the so-called left and the so-called right all do the same thing anyway, and they just hate each other equally. Just one's more vicious about it and the other's a little bit dressed up about it, you know, but they all hate each other the same. And it seems like the centre is the new place of manipulation, where it's like, I don't believe in the left, I don't believe in the right, so no, nor do we, here's the centre. And the centre's the new manipulation. It's just like telling the truth is the new lie, where we all admit, oh, I was wrong back then, and now am I acceptable again and credible again? You know, it's the cancel me, make me credible crap. So yeah, sometimes I get disheartened by how people are shite in their characters and very manipulative. And it's awful to watch sometimes. And as I say, only because I speak manipulates.